All right, there we go. Welcome everyone to the JMC 306 Sports Betting. I want to say interview. I'm here with Shane Dieffenbach. That's
Dieffenbach, close enough. It'll
Dieffenbach.
work.
There, I apologize.
All good.
Thank you for coming on the show. He's an ASU alumni and host of the PHNX Phoenix Daily Bets. I'm more proud to have him on the show, and thank you for coming along.
Not a problem, my man. Happy to do it.
Awesome. Well, let's get straight into this. I'm gonna start asking you a few questions and then just go how you feel. The first question is, how should you feel when betting?
How do I feel about betting in general?
Yeah.
Dude, it's been so fun, especially seeing the kind of immediacy of how Arizona's accepted it. Cause when I was back in college, we used to go to Vegas like for trips and fun. And that was kind of the allure and appeal. Like a lot of my buddies, go play some slots or blackjack, whatever, but I was always straight to the book. It was just so fun. And still when I go, like it's more fun to go to an actual book rather than doing it on an app. One of my favorite things to do is get a winning bet slip and lick it and then stick it to your forehead and take a picture. That's one of our traditions. But yeah, just seeing kind of like hearing the rumblings when I was in college. And then I remember I did a story about it, how it was getting closer and closer, how they were talking to the tribes and how it was going to logistically work out. And then kind of seeing it actually come into fruition and be everywhere. You can't drive a mile without seeing a betting ad. And all of the different options you have in Arizona too. It's awesome. So when I'm betting on apps here, it makes everything so much more fun. Our presenting sponsor is DraftKings. And one of the things I always say in our ad reads is like, yeah, sure, you can try to benefit financially off of it. But the main reason why I do it is because it makes games more entertaining. Like sometimes when you're watching like a college football game and it's Alabama favored by 40 points, like you're not usually going to watch that unless you have Alabama minus 40. So it just makes the sport in general more fun.
Extremely excited. Unfortunately, I'm only 19, so I can't do anything about that. But my brothers and I have a lot of acquaintances who bet. And since I'm like in the sports industry, I actually know a little bit about betting, although I shouldn't be saying this. I don't bet at all. Of course, I'm not going to do anything illegal, but I can't wait till I'm 21, have my own account because I'm ready. I'm a little experienced and I just can't wait.
Yeah, it's great.
All right, let's go to the next question. Give me an approximate. How many bets have you made throughout your betting career?
Oof. So since it's became legal, let me pull up the receipts. Since it became legal in Arizona, this is just in Arizona, so it doesn't count when I've gone to Vegas or other states that are legal. The total on my betting tracking app is, let's see, do some quick math, around 900 total, 900 bets placed.
Almost there. Well, let me follow up that question. Did those bets start to increase when you start doing the promotions like Arizona was offering with DraftKings, FanDuel, and such?
Yeah, I mean, I know what they want you to do. I know I'm conscious of how the tactic works. So, I stick to the book I like the most, which is DraftKings. And, we'll dip into some other promotions here and there just because you can get some free money off of that. Cause some of it literally is free money. But then some of it is like, you get $1,000 risk-free bet, which, it sounds great, but what happens really is you bet up to $1,000. And if you lose, you get credit within the app. So you don't get to just take your money out. So you just got to be wary of what that is. But yeah, I would say definitely the promotions definitely help. They work. And DraftKings is one of them that doesn't just give it to new customers. That's consistent. So they'll keep me back into it. They'll get you back into it. If you have a bad week, they're like, come on, come back in. And you're like, okay, fine. But yeah, I'd say it definitely increases the volume of bettors when there are promotions active.
Awesome. Well, as long as we recover, there's nothing bad.
Yeah.
So then we'll go to the next question. What is the most expensive bet that you won?
I try to stay away from betting big units because again, for me, I'm not trying to make money. It's like not my goal. I know some people think it's a get rich quick scheme, and it's just not. Professional bettors win up like around 55 to 58% of their bets, and you're not going to find somebody better than that over an extensive period of time. So people that say like that they consistently make money off of sports betting are mostly lying. The biggest bet I think I placed this year was on the Packers. I forget who they were playing. They're playing the Rams, I think week 15, 16, I want to say later in the season. And I just woke up, had a feeling, was backing Aaron Rodgers, ended up winning, but they're up but big the whole game. I think it was $150 because they were minus 150. I was $150 to win 100. But that's about the farthest I'll go in terms of uh, large sums of money. I don't like to, like, as I said earlier, I really like how it adds allure to the game, makes it more fun. I don't want to bet so much money where I'm like genuinely like, oh, if I lose, I'm going to be sad, because I'm watching a sport and sports are fun. So it shouldn't take away from that aspect of it. But yeah, it was the Packers game. Packers ended up winning. So that was big.
That was huge. I remember seeing that game. Cooper Cup almost coming back. Or no, it was Odell Beckham with that big touchdown.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
almost
That
thought
game
they were
was
going to come
sweaty.
back. That was an incredible game. Let me add on to that. You said that it was minus 150. Do you stick with money lines or do you do spreads?
It depends. So mainly when I'm in the NFL, I like to stay with spreads in the NFL, because you don't really get a lot of value from heavy favorites. And in the odds makers are just so damn good. I like live betting more than anything, I think, and live betting spreads, because then like the odds makers have so much time to think about the lines before the game. But when it's live, like it's constantly changing. So you can take advantage of quick swings. One of the things I always tell fans of the show is like the Suns are a moneymaker in that third quarter when they have been playing so poorly in the third quarter of the course of the entire season. That's when I hop on the live bet train. They'll be up by 15 at halftime, and then all of a sudden the lead's it's like 6, and then they're like 9-point favorites, and then they end up winning by 20 because they blow it open in the fourth quarter. So usually it's a spread. But probably my favorite bets right now for the NBA are player props. Big into points, rebounds, and assists. I end every show with peace, love, and PRA. I love PRA. It's like one of my favorite things to bet on, just because it's so stimulating almost. You're watching somebody get a board. You're like, there's one more. So the PRA, I think, is the most fun way to bet for me right now.
Interesting. That usually when my brother bets, he likes going with just the money lines, because when we go spreads usually give you less odds, and like that's just less money accumulated. It's a safer route. However, you generate less money. And then my brother, every time I talk with him about it, he's a greedy man.
Yeah, for sure.
How greedy you are and just trusting your guts, I guess. I would understand. I'm only 19. All right, let's go to the next question. It's kind of to the similar one with your most expensive bet, but the most expensive bet you lost.
Oof. Let's see. There was one in Vegas when I went there for the first and second round of the NCAA tournament. LSU is one of my sweetheart teams, no matter how good or bad they are each year. Them and Texas Tech. I just love teams that play defense. And LSU was a weird team because they were the number 3 offense in the NCAA last year with Cam Thomas. And this year they turned into one of the worst offenses, but a really good defense. So it's really high on them. I think it was $80-$90 on their, I think it was just their money line. But that was really sad because obviously losing money is never fun, but especially seeing them go home. I had them in all my brackets. It was like a lose-lose situation. That's the last one I can remember losing a lot of money from him. UFC fights sometimes get around there for me as well. I lost a good amount of money on Conor McGregor when he broke his leg. A couple other ones like that. But yeah, usually I've definitely lost $100 on a couple bets for sure. That's for sure.
Interesting. I actually bring up a lot about like betting with like your team. My brother, he likes to stay away from he's a more general Arizona fan, the Cardinals, the Suns, the Coyotes, and so on. He likes to stay away from those because when he bets on them, it's just more of a heart attack for him. And he's just like, all right, come on, man. They got to win. I have money in this. And then plus, a fan aspect in there, come on, please win. And then, I find that interesting that you would bet on a team that you would go for. Have you ever thought of like betting against them?
So, yeah. So one of my biggest thing is emotionally hedging is what I call it on our bet show. I love to emotionally hedge because it truly is a win-win. With LSU though, I just had so much confidence in them. It wasn't like a total like, oh, it's a heartbreak. It just sucked to see them go home early. But when it comes to like the Suns are different because of how damn good they are. But when it comes to the team I'm passionate about, like the love fading the Diamondbacks, love fading the Coyotes. And if they end up winning, good. But if not, and what usually happens, they lose. Like the Coyotes have been a moneymaker for me this year. Then you can walk home with some scratch, even when your team loses. So emotionally hedging is one of my favorite things I love to preach. It's a good way to watch a sport.
That's interesting to actually take. I might consider that once I'm 21.
It's fun.
I'm a huge Cardinals fan, so every time I watch their games, I'm shaking with their legs. Against the Seattle game when Seattle scored like in less than 2 minutes, I was just like emotionally just on my knees, like, how do you let this
Yeah.
happen? I know we don't have Kyler Murray with Colt McCoy in, but they ended up coming back, and well, I'm not ready for that in the sports aspect.
Yeah.
But we'll see once I'm 21. I'm actually very excited now.
Yeah. It's
So
fun.
let's go on to the following question. Is there a plan or routine you make while betting?
Depends on the day, depends on the card. Yeah, it totally depends on the sport. I like to I would definitely bet by units. If I'm talking to a guy that's trying to get into betting, I definitely say stick to your units, meaning like let's say you are confident that you can lose $100 in a week. You set your budget to $100 in a week. Your unit's probably going to be around $5 to $10. So one unit is $10. So depending on my units and depending on the card, I'll go into it with a different mindset. But if it's like a national championship or a big game, I'm usually saving up just for the props, just for, like Super Bowl props are super fun. But yeah, it really just depends on the day. Today, for example, you get MLB games early. So to get those bets over with before the NBA games start, I like to do no run first innings, the first 5 innings bet, somebody win the first 5 innings, and then a couple early bets here and there. But usually when I'm betting on different sports, I like to focus on one at a time. So I get the MLB done with earlier in the day. Usually don't bet on the night games unless I really like a card, and then go on to the NBA. But it totally just depends on each day's slate.
That's pretty take for that's actually pretty interesting how you have every time there's like a different time you make a different bet.
Yeah.
That's pretty interesting. All right, let's go for another question. What area of sports is your go-to for betting?
NFL is probably the most fun. It's definitely not the most profitable.
Oh,
I think I'm overall down money this year on the NFL, and NBA I make my most money on. That's for sure. Player props are like my specialty. It's my favorite thing to go on. It's really where you can get the only time you can truly get an advantage over the odds makers, because they factor in so many analytics and there's so many different props. Like you can get like if like say X player for a team, like a starting guard is questionable, his backup usually, if he's listed, he'll have a lesser point total than a starter would. But if you think that guy's not going to play, you can go ahead and get that backup for a lower point total over under than you would expect a starter to have. And then once you place that bet and then he's announced that he's starting, that total will go up, and that's called a line value. So if you have a plus closing line value, it means you're getting the line better than what it finished at, what it closed at before the game started. So that's why I like the NBA player props the most. But I'd say the most fun to bet on is the NFL, just because of the sport itself, how many different props there are. You literally have something on every play. You can bet on sacks, receptions, yards, just everything. It's a ton of fun.
that's something to take forward. I'll keep that in mind once I start talking with my brother and his
Yeah.
friends. Maybe I'll let him know about what you said. Interesting. We'll go to the opposite side of that. What areas of sports do you avoid while betting?
It's hard to avoid. It's really hard to avoid anything, especially if it's the only thing on. Like during the MLB season, MLB is not my favorite to bet on this year. It's been a lot more fun than years past, because of the availability of props so quickly on the phone, the flash props, stuff like that. But I'd say the NHL is probably the hardest sport to bet on for me. I really like betting on it because anything can happen. You can get some crazy lines live. Like the Coyotes go down 1 goal, they're like plus 600 usually. So that's fun to just sprinkle on. But the NHL, when I'm playing with bigger units, that's probably the hardest thing to bet on for me, just because it's the most volatile sport and who's winning and who's losing games. So I try to stay away from the NHL as much as I can, but it's also one of my favorite sports to watch. So it's hard to.
I understand that part. Well, let me get your opinion about this question. You think it's more easier to bet on a person hitting a home run or a person scoring a touchdown?
Ooh, definitely the touchdown. Touchdown props are one of my go-tos in the NFL season. Home runs are just so damn hard. So me and one of my coworkers, Sean, have started doing this thing where Julio Rodriguez, the rookie for the Mariners, he's been struggling. So every single day we've bet on him to hit a home run, and we're going to keep doing it until he does. He's plus 700. So we've bet on $10 on him for 3 days or 3 games in a row now, and he hasn't hit a home run. Once he gets to that 7th game, then we need to him to hit a home run for us to just break even. But it's so hard. It's so hard to expect. In football, I'm big on schemes. I'm big on looking what teams are going to be running. I do a lot of research on Football Outsiders to see what areas to exploit. Like the Chiefs, for example, every year they do something new at the end of the season, and then at the start of the season they usually struggle. Why are they struggling? It's a cover two. It's a, they're playing a guy in a cover one and bringing the safety down, and that you find out where the soft points in defenses are. So that's another place where you can kind of get better odds than you would expect. Especially when it comes to first touchdown scores. Those are so fun, but I would say betting on touchdown scores are way easier than betting on home runs. You can't really expect someone to just hit a bomb on any given day. And if they are somebody that should be hitting home runs, like, a Trout, like their odds aren't as great as a touchdown score. And it's harder to hit usually.
That's something to actually take forward. My brother, he likes to do the home runs derbies. He puts 7 people to hit a home run, and he's short always 4 players. I just tell him, bro, just stop doing that. I know you love baseball, but I just feel like baseball isn't too fun to bet on. There's only so much you can actually wait on. But it's his money, it's his gambling. It's his fun. So we'll leave it up to him. One more question. Any tip or advice you would give for the people starting off betting?
Yeah. So first thing, I already mentioned it, know your units, budget for sure. This is supposed to be fun. So don't go too crazy. If you're getting mad because you lost a bet, then you got to rethink of how you're approaching things. Bad beats are bad beats, but at the end of the day, you shouldn't be affected by losing a bet in general. So definitely know your units, know how much you're willing to lose each week, and expect to lose, or not expect, but if you were to lose, be okay with that. That's my biggest tip. My second biggest tip is stop parlaying things. Bet straight up. That I mean, I used to love it. Like, it's so fun to get crazy odds, and once in a blue moon it might hit, but you're so much more better off with, it's way better to hit 4 straight bets and think, damn, I should have parlayed these, than to hit 4 out of 5 and be like, why did I parlay these? I could have been up 4 units. Now I'm down 2. So yeah, stay away from parlays. The juicy odds are tempting, but that's what all the fun props are for. Just focus on one thing at a time.
Awesome. Well, that's all the questions I have. I thank you once again for coming on this small interview. It's amazing. I'll tell Shercel how amazing you were. Everything, you were so confident. It gives me the motivation to actually go to my brother and be like, hey, this guy, watch this video, be motivated. Well, if you have anything other to say, I think we're ready to wrap it up. I thank you for coming on the show, Shane.
Yeah, no problem. One thing, PHNX daily bets Monday through Friday at noon on the PHNX Sports YouTube channel, at PHNX Sports across all socials. You can follow me on Twitter at Shane Dieffenbach, and follow the show on Twitter at PHNX_bets. There
you go. I will let you know that all this is going to go into our website. And once we post at the very end, I'll probably send you an email. You can probably check it out. And then I'll put it on YouTube, all my platforms that I have. This goes good. Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
No problem, Sebastian.